The Evil Dead is a 1981 horror film directed by Sam Raimi and stars Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams, a teenager who goes with some of his friends until the middle of nowhere into a cabin, finds an old ancient book called the Necronomicon, and when read, it summons an ancient Cantarian demon. The Evil Dead is a movie that you've probably heard of. It's a movie that I've heard of too, and it wasn't until recently when I actually sat down and watched The Evil Dead, and I liked it so much that I not only watched The Evil Dead, but The Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the entirety of Ash vs. The Evil Dead, and now eagerly await for the next installment of this franchise because The Evil Dead is really, really wacky and fun, and you need that with your horror. Sometimes the best horror movies are those that don't take themselves too seriously, and The Evil Dead is one such film. But the story of how The Evil Dead got made is a really fascinating one. Sam Raimi, who you probably know from movies like Spider-Man, actually the entire Spider-Man trilogy, maybe even Oz the Great and Powerful, which I'm not going to really talk about, but The Evil Dead and Spider-Man and Darkman, I guess, are probably among his most popular films that he's made. But Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and a few of their friends decided that they wanted to make a movie. They were about my age, maybe 19 to 21. They all pitched it. They made a short film that's about half an hour. I think it's called, Something in the Woods, Walk in the Woods. And they shot this movie, and they showed it to local business people, dentists, doctors, and tried to get money, funding, basically producers, to make The Evil Dead. And then they went on to make this very low-budget indie film that basically they had no idea what they were doing. You can see a lot of behind-the-scenes footage from The Evil Dead. You can also just watch interviews of them talking about it. Even years later, they're still saying they really didn't know what they were doing with this movie, but wound up making a fantastic horror film that, one, has black comedy in it, doesn't take itself very seriously, and two, has lots and lots of gore. I would have to say that The Evil Dead is the most gory film that I've ever seen. And what the basic plot is, like I mentioned, involves several kids going to a cabin in the woods, which may sound familiar because many other films use this trope later. These kids go to the cabin in the woods, they find the Necronomicon, which was even, a concept that debuted in Lovecraftian literature, but a book that summons the dead, and it's recited, which brings about a demon that begins to possess the kids, and it is up to Ash, the lone survivor, the final girl, but final guy in this case, who has to stop his friends from killing him because they are possessed by a Cantarian demon. There are some really great practical effects in The Evil Dead. It's a very crazy and blood-filled movie. It is very gross. It is very over-the-top. And it's great. I really recommend it. It's a very fun movie. And the fact that they didn't know what they were doing, and they just wanted to make a movie, and apparently it was a miserable process to do so, but the end result is fantastic. There's so much I could talk about when it comes to The Evil Dead. So many tropes that you see in traditional films nowadays, even being parodied with movies like The Cabin in the Woods, come from The Evil Dead. The whole situation of multiple kids going to somewhere isolated, being trapped with your typical demon, ghost, monster, werewolf, zombies, whatever, and just having lots of gore and being over the top. There are several scenes where there is a basement, which was actually someone's garage that they had to film separately from the actual cabin, which, by the way, that actual cabin does not exist anymore. It burned to the ground. But back in the 80s, it was a real cabin in the middle of nowhere where they actually shot The Evil Dead. And what's great about how the dead force, I guess you would call it, like the force of the evil, they actually put a camera on a 2x4 and ran through the woods with it. And there's camera tricks like that. There are random jarring movements in the movie. like I said, plenty of gore and plenty of guts that you can expect in The Evil Dead. And also there's some great sound editing that is done to enhance the creepiness of this movie. It's a very bizarre film. It's a movie that I didn't think would be considered a praiseworthy horror film, because a lot of these direct-to-video, underground, gore, splatter films usually don't get recognized. But the exception is The Evil Dead, because it is a very popular film, one that spawned a whole slew of extra media, even a remake, which I need to see, and even upcoming movies and a TV show. It's just that popular. It has its fan base, and I am certainly a part of it. The Evil Dead, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 skulls on the R.I.P. Reviews rating scale. A very bizarre movie, to say the least, but a really great movie, to say the most. That didn't really make any sense, but that's okay. Thank you for watching, and remember, as always, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.